Hokey religions and ancient weapons. Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This episode, we're going to talk about the EU version of Palpatine returning, as well as some things coming in Episode 9. This is Tyler,
This is Michael.
and this is, I think, Episode 94?
Yep.
Hopefully that's right. I'm pretty sure that's what I wrote down was right.
Well, that's what it is now.
We'll just have two Episode 94s if so. Well,
Getting some good energy
oh yeah,
to start with.
just right into the
Should've-
lack of trust in my own mind.
Huh?
Nothing.
I don't think you know what you just
we're
said.
we're broken.
I probably should have figured out my microphone
before we
I hit record. It's not staying.
You
But
good?
guess what? That's the quality of what you get.
We've ruined this intro.
This is why. Huh? That's why. This is why you tune in.
No,
Nope.
not at all.
Okay.
So,
Here we go.
well,
Here we go.
let's try to do this, Michael.
What do we want to talk about first? Because we got a lot to talk about.
Let's talk about something that after our last episode, I decided would be a good thing to actually talk about because I didn't know enough about it, and so I wanted to. And that is what in the old EU, the Legends now, the old expanded universe, Palpatine did return at one point. There was a comic series called Dark Empire that was released in 1991 and 1996.
There's also a book trilogy.
Right. Yeah. So it was Dark Empire. I believe the first six. It was like two miniseries. I think it was like 91 and 96, something like that. And it's
Wait, was it a book series?
I think it was just this comic series.
It was just comics?
Yeah. And I mean, since the fact it came out in 91, that would make sense why I probably never read it. Because I was not of age. Yes.
Goo covered Luke Skywalker on the front.
A what?
A goo covered Luke Skywalker.
Oh, they said a nude Luke Skywalker on the
Well,
front.
he looks nude, but he's, I think, is he nude?
I doubt the comic book cover had a nude Skywalker on it.
I think
Anyways,
it's time to figure this out.
I think it's easy to look at
This show.
and figure out he's not naked because nothing's happening.
What would this show be if we weren't looking up nude Luke Skywalkers?
Just listen to us. Look up
No.
nude pictures of Luke.
iTunes.
Great. While you look that up, I'm going to talk about what this story actually is. So the Dark Empire takes place 6 years.
Here we go.
What?
It's a nude man.
Interrupting already.
Well, it's a nude man. I don't know if it's Luke Skywalker.
Probably a Palpatine clone, which we'll be talking about soon.
With a lightsaber.
Yes. So, Dark Empire takes place 6 years after the Battle of Endor.
He's very naked.
Don't you always
He's
think
got
about,
blue goo.
Don't you always think about Palpatine being very naked with blue goo?
Okay.
I know I do. All right. So, I'm going to tell you what Dark Empire is actually about. And as I was looking into this and looking through the plot and the synopsis of it, how there's definitely a lot of things that I think they're directly pulling from this that are being reused in the current canon, as we will see as we talk through this. But so high level of what's taking place. It's 6 years after the Battle of Endor, and it kind of starts out with Luke and Lando are having a kind of a raid on Coruscant, with because they're using repurposed Imperial Star Destroyers now. They have a raid. They have to crash the Star Destroyer on Coruscant, and then Han and Chewie and Leia come to save them with the Falcon. But there's suddenly a disturbance in the Force, and a Force storm comes out of a hyperspace wormhole things like this are why the EU really started to fall apart. But Luke and R2 got, I guess, pulled into it, and everyone else got away. Anyways, later on the Alliance base on the moon of Dasucha, codenamed Pinnacle Base, the Alliance leaders reported that
I like the idea that no, we can't use the real name for this moon.
no,
It's Pinnacle Base. It's not.
yeah, we're not going to
It's
call
not
it
Dasucha
Dasucha
Base.
anymore. The Alliance leaders reported that the separate Imperial factions that now existed in the basically what is the Shattered Empire that we've seen in the Aftermath series. They reported that these separate Imperial factions had disappeared into the unknown regions of the galactic core, which is exactly what happened in the Aftermath series.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one item that is definitely happening now in the current canon. So then, as that's happening, the initial phase of Operation Shadowhand begins, which is not just something I do on Saturday nights, but it's a fleet of world devastators. Which I remember as I was reading this, I remember the world devastators. They're basically these big machines that land on a planet and have just like this massive tractor beam and just suck all the resources out of the planet.
Yeah.
And then fly away, leaving the planet just like a husk.
Did you ever play Rogue Squadron?
Yeah.
There was a level where you fly a V-wing on Mon Calamari,
Okay.
where a world devastator shows up and you have to, or a couple of them, and you have to destroy them.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was looking at, that's the first planet that the world devastators are like heading towards was Mon Cala.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So yeah, you've got these world devastators. So anyways, back to Luke. He eventually made his way to the planet Biss, which is a deep core world enveloped in the power of the dark side.
Yeah, a planet I miss. I wish they had brought that back. I remember that being in so much EU.
Yeah, just
stuff.
being this like Sith planet that's just like really dark side.
Right,
planet.
that the Emperor had put a lot of core Empire not equipment, but you know, it was like it was a military base, but also a Sith icon because it was like steeped in the dark side of the Force.
I wonder if they're doing that Sith stuff with everything they've done with Mustafar now. Yeah. I wonder if they've kind of if they're offloading some of like that Sith I don't know world it seems like Mustafar is becoming that with all the stuff that Vader's been doing with this castle.
So centered in the dark side of the Force.
Right, it's like this weird point with Vader's castle of like accessing the dark side.
Yeah.
So while on Biss, Luke meets face to face with the Emperor Reborn. The Emperor reveals that for many years he took to transferring his mind and consciousness to clone bodies to attain immortality. However, the clones were one crucial step from long life. They were more ravaged. I guess they were more ravaged by the dark side than sustained by the Force. So
meaning they don't last a while.
Yeah, no, the dark side basically destroys them just because of like they can't contain, I guess, the
Palpatine's
power
energy.
Yeah. So Palpatine had numerous clones that are just like ready. He just had this cloning facility where he just had clones constantly ready so he could continue to hop bodies. And then he offers Luke an apprenticeship and the prospect of controlling the enormous fleet of Devastators, as well as the rest of the Imperial fleet. And then Luke, faced with an impossible situation, deeply impressed by the power of the Emperor and his charismatic presence, he agrees that he'll become his apprentice. And at that time, then R2 was modified to carry the master signal for the world Devastators.
See, again, another reason why the EU.
Yeah,
it's probably good that the EU is R2D2 is the one
that has the master key
that was given power to control.
He has the kill switch for the entire fleet of world Devastators. Yeah,
that's not going to come back to ruin any plans.
No, there's so many just problems with this. So the other battles happen, and Leia gets captured, and she gets taken to Palpatine. And there she discovers that that he has an even greater treasure, a mysterious Jedi holocron. And the Emperor stole it during the Great Jedi Purge. He stole it from Ashka Boda, a Jedi. So he has this holocron and Luke under his control, and he reveals that he plans to overshadow Leia's third child stirring in her womb as his next new body. In anger,
This is
Leia,
after the twins were born.
right? So you've got
Jason and
Jason and Jaina,
We're already
and
around.
this is going to be Anakin. So she's pregnant. Palpatine's saying that he's going to basically use her third child as his next body. She topples Palpatine from his bed and steals the holocron. How that's a thing you can do to Palpatine, I'm not sure.
From his bed?
Yeah.
He was in bed this whole time?
I guess so. It was the shadow hand. So she gets the holocron. She finds Luke, who claims he was free of the dark side despite his eyes continuing to show yellow.
Continuing.
I'm fine, and his eyes are bright yellow. So Han, Chewie, and the Falcon come to get them. As always, there's nothing the Falcon can't do in the EU. It's always involved. Luke and Leia get to the Falcon, and with R2.
This is interesting.
And then the Falcon takes off from Biss. However, Luke then reveals that he had cast an illusionary projection of himself to make them believe he had boarded so that they would escape. Take that, motherfuckers. It's already happened, and if you didn't like it in The Last Jedi, that's too bad.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah. And so he does the force projection, and so he's actually still on Biss. So the real Luke then marches into the clone lab during Palpatine's last few moments before transitioning to a new body. I feel like he caught him on the can. Like he's like, "Oh, no, I'm transitioning. Get out! Close the door." Yeah, that's the sound the force makes as it's seeping into the next body. So Luke reveals his purpose, basically trying to make the current incarnation of Palpatine die. And so Palpatine's Luke's starting to destroy this cloning facility, and Palpatine goes ahead and just kills himself, kills his current form to try to get into one of the bodies before Luke destroys them all.
Sounds like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. You can't get me. You can't get me if I get myself. So Luke goes on a destructive spree through the lab, hoping to beat Palpatine to the clones, but he misses one. Just that one.
That's so weird.
It's so sad. So the newly resurrected Palpatine, because this apparently happens very quickly, scoffs at Luke's attempts to vanquish him, and when Luke tries to subdue Palpatine, the Sith Lord seizes one of the lightsabers he kept stored in the lab, just his lab saber. And then they have a lightsaber fight. Despite his efforts, Luke was disarmed and held at blade point. Palpatine proceeded to complete Skywalker's turn to the dark side, reducing him to an obedient watchdog. So Luke is now fully controlled by Palpatine, basically. Luckily, earlier on, Luke had managed to install a code into R2-D2's memory banks to shut down the Devastators.
Oh, what do you know?
All these Deus Ex Machinas just written right in, very plainly and fully. This is a bad idea. Oh, so it happened that he had the code to shut them down as well. Great. So the crew manages to shut them down, and R2-D2 creates a new code to make the Devastators basically recycle each other. Just makes them eat each other. Which also sounds dumb. So unfortunately, the Devastators was only a small part of the Emperor's plan, because great new fleets of the Empire were spreading across the galactic core. And then soon the galaxy would fall under the sway of the dark side. So new Imperial fleets were showing up all of a sudden. Probably those fleets that had left. Like we saw in the trailer, it looks like there's an Imperial Star Destroyer that's in the Rise of Skywalker, possibly.
I want to say, we'll get to what we think about all this later, but yeah,
sure.
Finish the
synopsis. So Luke traveled with the Emperor to capture Leia. Another thing where they run into each other because everyone's always in the same spot all the time. And they're aboard a new ship, the Eclipse, which is now Palpatine's capital ship. So prior to the Eclipse's arrival, the holocron Leia stole from the Emperor delivers a 1,000-year-old prophecy to her, which told her of the battle against the young Emperor. A brother and sister born to walk the sky, but reckless brother falls into dark side's eye. Jedi sister carries hope for the future in her womb. Only she can save the Skywalkers from certain doom. A Jedi killer wants to tame her. Now the dark side lord comes to claim her. She must battle. She must battle.
This
Join
is a
against.
limerick.
I know. She must battle. Join against this thief, or the dynasty of all the Jedi will come to grief. First off, that's
No.
someone wrote that, and it was in a book, and it's bad.
She must battle, join against this
She
thief,
must battle. Join against. The
or
thief.
the dynasty of all the Jedi will come to grief.
It sounds like a limerick. It sounds like something you say in a pub when you're really drunk. So, anyways,
So she picked up a saber. What do you can't rhyme with saber. I chose the wrong word
Not
there.
really.
I can't really finish that one, can I?
So the eclipse comes out of hyperspace. The Emperor demands the Alliance to send Leia to his ship alone with the holocron. He promises to discuss a truce. Despite Han's objections, Leia boards the shuttle, and she appeals to Luke's good side, redeeming him all of a sudden. Outraged, the Emperor fights Luke in a lightsaber battle, ultimately losing his hand, the Emperor's hand. However, an enraged
Palpatine loses his hand just like Luke did? Really?
I think so, yeah. However, an enraged Palpatine unleashes a titanic force storm to utterly obliterate the Rebel Alliance fleet. Using knowledge taught to them, brother and sister turned the force storm upon him. The result was the complete destruction of the Eclipse and Palpatine, supposedly, though his spirit escaped to fight another day. As Eclipse was destroyed, the twins fled on a shuttle. Once safely aboard an Alliance cruiser, Luke, his eyes once again blue, proclaims, "The Jedi Knights will rise again." Well, we know that's not going to happen.
Rise again. Hey.
Hey ho, what do you know? So, there's a lot of things that like I said are definitely seem to be pulled from this storyline, right? You've got the Imperial fleet leaving, going to the unknown regions.
Regrouping, basically.
Yeah,
returning.
Palpatine having this big plan.
Yeah.
Albeit very shitty plan that is totally broken because he put the Master Key in R2, who's just like the shittiest person to give any control to, because you know he's just gonna piss on you, because R2D2 I think hates everyone. He's a little bastard and I love him. So
He's a little bastard and I love him.
that's what I tell my son every night.
Talking about somebody else or talking about
About R2. When I put my son to bed, I tell him about
Okay,
R2.
yeah.
So you've got the Imperial fleets going into the unknown regions, right? You've got Leia's child being used by the Emperor,
Mhm.
or being planned to be used by the Emperor.
Mhm.
You've got Luce with force projections. You've got the Empire coming back, which seems like we have in the trailer, right? A Imperial Star Destroyer, possibly.
Well,
Well, well. In
Just
the trailer, there's
keep
that.
going, keep going.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
And then you've got, I don't know, the Emperor goes batshit crazy with whatever his bullshit plan was and has a force storm, which I hope we never have. There's too many force storms coming out of wormholes and out of people, and really bad limerick poems in this.
There once was a man named Luke. Really enjoyed reading Book.
Thanks. This is why we don't write these stories, and this person shouldn't have either.
Really enjoyed reading Book.
Book. So, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting points in here, despite the objectively 90s plot points that are here. Just the-
Objectively 90s.
Yeah, that's our next podcast. That's where we talk. It's where we just talk. It's not about Star Wars. It's just us being objectively 90s, because that's horrible. So despite all the 90s, just bad Star Wars 90s stuff that happened, there's a lot of stuff that seems like it was pulled out of this, right?
Yeah. I think the thing about the Emperor trying to corrupt Anakin, the third child of Leia and Han, I think that could easily, be applied to Ben.
I don't know about him being a host for Palpatine.
No.
Though that would be a very interesting plot point to.
I don't think Palpatine is going to be cloned. I don't think there's going to be a clone of Palpatine.
You think it's just Force?
I think he's either
Force Palpatine.
he either didn't die originally, and somehow
That
is
would
alive,
be
or he's just a Force spirit. He's a dark side spirit.
so
Because
let's talk about that then, because
there's a lot to talk about
if he
here.
didn't die, I don't know if I'd accept that.
Because he is just now showing up?
Right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Palpatine isn't one to just sit back.
No, and he obviously has had a plan. He's had a plan in everything, and we've seen in all the novels and stuff his plan being
And it's not anything as
put
stupid.
together by his sentinels and all of that. Like
Yeah.
everything's been kicked off. There was a plan. So I
It-
don't think he lived because he had this plan, but I think in his death, he had a plan in death. Like he knew once he died, he knew what he was going to do.
Or he had a contingency for death.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think he lived because that would be insane. That would undermine so much.
I think so. And it's not anything as stupid as Palpatine has been controlling Snoke this whole time, or
I mean, from the Force, he could at least be guiding a lot of this, right? He could be speaking to Snoke and guiding him.
I don't know though. I feel like Snoke.
I could 100% see it was Palpatine's idea specifically to go after Ben. I don't think that was Snoke's idea, and I don't think Snoke. I don't think
I don't
Snoke
know,
was a
though.
host for Palpatine.
No, I don't think so either.
'Cause Palpatine wouldn't act like Snoke did unless he was just really trying to seem like I'm not Palpatine for sure. Look at me, I'm Snoke, I'm gold robe,
Snoke
slippers.
is definitely. See, that's what I'm saying. Snoke is definitely his own person with his own motivations.
He's his own man. He don't need no Palpatine.
He don't need no man. he. Yeah, I don't see him being manipulated by an outside force. You know what I mean?
Snoke.
Literally or metaphorically.
But if it's the Emperor,
I don't know.
I
though.
think from the dark side perspective, I think that like they would have to listen to him.
I don't know though.
Because like I
don't feel like we felt the Emperor's influence in anything so far.
But I think that's the point. Is I think in the Rise of Skywalker, we're going to get like this holy shit. Like at the end, realizing like and then going back and thinking about other stuff that's happened and being like, oh yeah, that was always him, or he was behind this. Or
I mean, that
behind
would be great if we
Like
did
I feel
that.
like we're going to get that holy shit moment with Palpatine being like, no way.
But do you feel like that would cheapen some of the stuff we've seen already? The fact that it was just manipulation?
No,
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Not because it's Palpatine. I don't think so.
So
But I also don't want it to be arbitrary. There's just like there needed to be a reason. Like there has to be there always, and that's we've always complained about not getting anything with Snoke. It's like, what was the reason? There had to be a reason why he chose Ben, right? Like, why did he go after Ben specifically? Why is he trying to go after Skywalker specifically? What was Snoke's deal? Why does Snoke care about Skywalker in the first place? Why is he involved with Skywalker? Why is he involved with Ben and any of the Skywalker relations?
See, that's why I think, well, like we've been saying this whole time, Snoke's true motivations and his backstory and everything, we don't know any of that yet, and I don't think it's connected to the Emperor.
I would argue the exact opposite, that the only reason he's at all interested in Skywalker and Ben is because of the Emperor.
Snoke doesn't seem like the kind of person who would just follow orders, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would have to have some kind of reciprocation coming back to him. Some reciprocity.
So you know how Snoke looks really fucked up?
Yeah.
What if he died? What if Snoke was dead?
This whole time? It's a Weekend at Bernie's situation? Oh, no!
You didn't see those two stormtroopers that were like walking him around? No.
Sunglasses. He didn't have sunglasses.
What if he actually died at some point and the Emperor sent him back?
Oh, gosh, he has unfinished business.
Like, what if the Emperor gave him his life back from the Force to like fulfill this job?
I would be very angry because that's I don't like that. I think that would be dumb. I don't think you're saying Snoke Snoke is sent back from heaven.
Hell. specifically.
Okay.
You don't look like that and go to heaven. They don't let you in.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I mean, that's a bad theory, right? I accept that.
Okay.
But I don't think Snoke would
I'm just
have
trying to
any
think.
like what would Skywalker and Ben matter to Snoke at all ever outside of the Emperor's plan? The Emperor specifically has a reason to go after Luke.
Okay, so
The
yeah,
Emperor specifically has a reason to go after Ben because of his lineage.
I guess we got off in a tangent. To go back to Anakin, or the third child, corrupting the third child, or the child now
right,
of
the only child,
Leia, the new Skywalker, right?
right.
That makes sense. That's the Emperor would want that. He would want to corrupt that bloodline.
He specifically has shit to deal with Luke because what Luke did to him and
Yeah.
Vader.
Yeah.
And then he directly goes after Ben
Vader
to rekindle
was
Vader in Ben to try to.
Vader was always just a tool to Palpatine. One of many tools, but he saw the potential there.
Right.
He saw that raw power in
And I think
Anakin.
Ben specifically was a tool. Ben was chosen to bring Luke down. Like Palpatine knew by using Ben, he could end Luke, which he has succeeded in doing.
He tried to turn Luke, and Luke rejected him and killed him. So yeah, I could totally see him going after the Skywalkers again. Sure.
Right.
But I don't see that happening through Snoke, or Snoke really being involved. I mean, I think it's coincidental that Snoke wants.
But
the
Snoke
same
is the
thing.
one that supposedly seduced Ben, and obviously we have
Yeah.
no idea why he is ever involved in this family. We have no idea because that's not been given to us, and I think it will be in the Rise of Skywalker.
I think because the First Order's I mean, the resistance is the main resistance to the
Right.
First Order. And because of the legend that Luke is and has become, and because that would give hope, would
I know, but
inspire people to join the
But
resistance. All
Snoke
of
is
that,
the
I
dark
think
side.
that's why.
Snoke is steeped in the dark side. He's shooting lightning out of his hands, right? He's definitely involved in the dark side.
But he's
He's
not
involved
a
in
Sith.
stuff with Ben and knows about Vader and all of that. So we have no idea where he came from, who he's been involved with, because he had to have come from someone or something.
His
he has
only
to
interest seems to be to prevent the rise or the resurrection of the Jedi.
I know, but at the same time, I think Snoke specifically enjoys the power, right? It's all about power for him in a way that it was with Palpatine, but in a much different way. Like the glory of power, not the control of power.
Yeah,
with
power
Palpatine.
always seemed like a means to an end for Palpatine. Like it wasn't just power. It didn't stop there.
It was about controlling.
Like he wasn't just reveling in power. It was about
having the power to be able to control everyone and everything.
Yes.
Whereas Snoke very much seems like the glory of power is
right.
his purpose.
It's more about glory. Yeah.
I feel like that is what Snoke's real goal is, and that the Ben thing is probably just a side means to that power.
That's what I'm saying.
I still think that's driven by Palpatine.
And I think any desire the Emperor Palpatine would have to corrupt Ben, the fact that Snoke shares the same thing is coincidental. I think they both want the same person. They both want to corrupt the same person, but for different reasons. I don't see Snoke being manipulated or controlled by Palpatine.
I see Snoke being weak because of his lack of awareness, just because of the glory of power. And
exactly.
The shiny of power that the Emperor has used this.
Yeah, I could totally see that too. That seems to match with his personality more.
I can see, maybe it's not directly from the Emperor. Like, I think it is definitely, all of this is due to the Emperor. And whether Snoke's aware of it or not. I think the Emperor has used what Snoke is doing to his benefit. Like, behind the scenes, this was all actually. I think we're going to. I for some reason I feel like we're going to have that point where we're like, all of this was orchestrated by the Emperor. Snoke had no idea. It wasn't on purpose what he was doing, but it was all definitely orchestrated and guided by the Emperor through the Force or what have you.
Yeah.
So whether directly or indirectly, I mean, I certainly think the fact that Ben was involved with Snoke was not a mistake, and that was orchestrated by the Emperor in some way, whether Snoke was or was not aware of it.
I wonder.
I don't think the Emperor's
know.
been like hanging out in hell waiting for the right moment. Like, oh wait, somebody got Ben? Yeah, quick, get me a notepad.
Well, so this was something else I wanted to talk about related to this. Last episode, I made a comment about how there are no
underwear in space.
I've been thinking about that a lot.
Every night. George Lucas said that. I'm sorry.
He did.
There's
It's
no underwear
canon.
in space.
It's canon.
It's canon. Underwear canon. Something else I think about often.
For different reasons.
Yeah, that's totally separate.
What am I saying? What am I trying to say?
Something you said last episode. That
Yes. So
I
last
obviously
episode,
wasn't listening to.
I dropped a comment about how dark side of the Force users, Sith, whatever, cannot become Force ghosts. Like there are none of them. There aren't any dark side of the Force ghosts.
The Force ghost
Right?
is supposed to be a light side thing.
Yes, and that's something we learned from Master and Apprentice. That's something we've heard Qui-Gon talk about before. Like Qui-Gon was steeped in the living
Force, which is the light side.
And he was the one who instructed Yoda after he died how to
Right.
come back, and that kind
And
of
again,
set
that's
that up.
it's only supposed to be a light side thing.
That was a new thing, right? Well, I was thinking about that again, and there have been examples in the EU at least of dark side of the Force spirits, but not really Force ghosts. So like Force
No.
ghosts
Yeah.
can travel with the living, it seems like
right.
like Ben, for example, Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan, speaking to Luke in the X-wing, showing up to Luke on Dagobah.
Yeah, I mean they're in the living Force. The
Right.
Force, surrounds you, and
Right.
they're with that.
But then, like, if you think about the whatever the book series was with the Sun Crusher and Exar Kun, I don't know if you remember that story from the EU, but there was the Exar Kun, this old Jedi master that was corrupted and turned to the dark side of the Force and murdered a ton of Jedi. His spirit was on the moon. I think it was Yavin 4.
Yeah, they're more like poltergeists.
Right. They
Like
haunt a specific area.
they haunt where they died or where their power existed.
So
or
ever
ended.
since, so I don't know if that's, I assume that's still canon. I would guess so, because there have been several examples of that. And yes, that was the other reason I thought this was still canon, was because of that Force spirit in the Vader comic series that showed up.
Omen.
Yeah, that was basically haunting Mustafar.
Yeah.
That was in that location on Mustafar.
Well, yeah,
so
he had a mask that he was basically haunting. It was his mask.
Okay, yeah.
That had his spirit tied to it.
Okay, yeah. So it's like they're tied to specific locations or objects or something, right?
Right.
And I think even Sith Holocron where we've seen that, I think there are actual Force spirits.
You could be tied to that too.
Yeah, tied to those things. So yeah, so there is a concept of like dark side of the Force users existing in the afterlife, quote unquote.
Right. It's
in some kind of spiritual
it's
way.
It's like this other realm
Right.
of your Force spirit existing, but not
Right.
the freedom. It's heaven and hell, right?
So-
it's you don't have the freedom of heaven and the light side to travel around and be an angel. You've
Right.
got you've got the
You're stuck.
you didn't move the bodies from Poltergeist, and the ghosts are just in one spot because
Right.
just their power still existed there.
Right. So in all of that, in thinking about all of that, we saw the Death Star 2 wreckage.
Right.
Where, in this line of what form does Palpatine exist now, I think it's more likely that he's haunting the place of his death, or he's a spirit tied to the place of his death, than it would be he lives or he's reincarnated or something like that. That's what I'm starting to lean
Yeah,
towards.
definitely. I mean, that's definitely possible. And I think, I mean, someone has obviously been, if this is Endor, which, I mean, looking at,
We were talking about that earlier, trying to
I was
figure
looking
out.
at canon galaxy maps, and there's really not any other notable planets near Endor
That we know of currently, at least.
that we know of currently, right? So, but from a storytelling perspective, I think
It would make the most
it's more
sense.
powerful for it to be Endor to
Yeah,
return there, right?
Definitely.
It's a place we know,
And the only
and all
reason we
that.
thought it might not be Endor was because of the
Ocean,
yeah, the what do you call it, topology
right?
or whatever,
Topography.
the topography.
Is
It looked different. Yeah, there was that
and
the
somebody's definitely
upset
been to
ocean, there was the dead grass and
right.
stuff. It just,
Somebody's been to Endor before because Ben has Vader's mask, his melty mask from
that was
his
another
funeral
thing we were
pyre.
talking about earlier was, so like, were the was the mask taken by the acolytes of the dark side of the force that we saw in the Aftermath series?
Snoke used to lure Ben. And if Snoke went to Endor, then the Palpatine's
Yeah,
ghost is on Endor.
Did
and
Snoke have it? Well, yeah. Did Snoke have it? Did Luke take it with him, and Ben stole it from Luke when he turned against Luke? I mean, that's another
somebody has
possibility.
been to Endor to get this mask.
Yeah.
And Palpatine, if his Force ghost is haunting the Death Star, he was there too.
Yeah.
On Endor. That's all I'm saying. So at some point he got involved.
Maybe.
But I mean, if you think about it too,
I think it's, so what you were saying about, the Emperor wanting to corrupt Ben and manipulate Snoke to do that. I think I don't know if that's the case, but I think it's still likely that the Emperor is aware of Ben's presence in some capacity and still wants him to be corrupted and turned, whether that's from, whether that's in the Emperor's death or he's actually alive and he's actively going after this.
Right. And I mean, and you've got, I mean, while we've seen, Force ghosts and all of that, I mean, that stuff that's in that Fortress Vader comic with Momin, I mean, they create this thing to basically open up a door into the dark side. So they create this design that's supposed to like channel the locus of energy underneath the castle, underneath his Vader's castle on Mustafar, and it was able to open a door to the dark side, and then Momin used it to resurrect his original body.
Yeah.
So we
Vader,
also have
basically.
we have an example of a dark side ghost resurrecting his original body through a rift to the dark side directly, and Vader was going to try to use it to resurrect Padme.
Yeah.
Much like Palpatine was talking to Anakin about, that Plagueis was trying to do, basically.
Yeah.
So we have an example of a Sith or dark side Force user. He was a Sith Lord. We have an example of a Sith Lord resurrecting his body through
and I guess
through the Force.
The concept of eternal life exists. That's something that can be achieved, whether Palpatine ended up learning it or not. We don't know. But yeah, that's something that's been introduced. So I guess it is possible that he's alive in some way. I don't know what that would be. Cloning sounds weird.
I mean, again, Momin had to do this through Vader, getting Vader to build this rift device to open up a portal to the dark side, basically. So the acolytes or somebody has to have been working on this, I would almost think. Like, be actively trying to help. There has to, whatever Palpatine's plan was, like someone is enacting this plan to bring him back, possibly.
So it takes both a spirit that's dead and a living being.
I mean, this kind of goes into.
I could accept that, maybe.
I don't know if I had anything else to talk about the about Dark Empire, other than the direct correlations to stuff with the Aftermath series. I think is really cool. But I think this conversation directly ties into what was released in the new book Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray.
I want to say something real quick. So we were talking about, just to go back to Snoke real quick and his motivations. What he said so far, when I was talking about how we were both agreeing that his motivations seemed to stop short of what Palpatine's
Right.
motivations were.
Yeah.
Like Snoke was more about glory than he was ultimate control of the
Mhm.
universe or the galaxy, whatever. But I mean, he has said multiple times to Kylo, just talking about how he he's just so focused on crushing hope. You know, like
Yeah.
he wants to destroy Luke or prevent the resistance from getting to Luke in order to prevent hope from spreading. Which seems to me like it's just a way to keep the First Order
Moving forward.
moving forward, to destroy any sort of resistance in front of them. You know, keep him unburdened. I don't to what end? I don't know.
Right.
Is it control, I guess? Is it just power again, like we were talking about? I don't know. But it seems like Luke is just standing in the way. Luke is creating hope and standing in the way of whatever he's trying to get to through the First Order. So,
Yeah.
you know, maybe corrupting Ben was just a way to get to Luke because he was controlled or, you know, so close to Luke.
Yeah.
And he just wants to just crush Luke
From Snoke's perspective,
and
yeah.
destroy that hope.
From a Snoke side of things, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Not to say that Palpatine wasn't, I don't know, working something through this on his, you know, on a different on a different angle.
I guess that's yet to be seen, but I think it's clear that the motivations or the whatever Snoke was trying to get to so far
Mhm.
is not as far reaching as what Palpatine.
No, his
had in mind.
his view was much
More limited.
much narrower. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So
So anyway,
so in the book that just came out by Claudia Gray, Master and Apprentice, which I haven't read yet, but this specifically is very important. The actual Jedi prophecy that has been talked about in this entire damn saga, the prophecy was finally given to us in its entirety, which I honestly didn't expect for us to ever get that.
and it's way better than the prophecy that was
It's
in
not a
Dark
limerick.
Empire.
It's not a limerick or a poem in any form. So I'm gonna read it.
There are a few lines that are a little strange, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but I'll read the prophecy and then we can talk about the individual lines and what we think they mean. So the prophecy goes, "She who will be born to darkness will give birth to darkness. When the Kyber that is not Kyber shines forth, the time of prophecy will be at hand. One will ascend to the highest of the Jedi despite the foreboding of those who would serve him. Only through sacrifice of many Jedi will the Order cleanse the sin done to the nameless. The danger of the past is not past, but sleeps in an egg. When the egg cracks, it will threaten the galaxy entire. When the Force itself sickens, past and future must split and combine. A chosen one shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored."
There's a lot to unpack here.
Which, that is so good. It's
pretty good.
It's great. I love it.
As far as retconning goes, this is probably the best the best practice.
Yeah, because there was a prophecy, right? I don't think there was ever a prophecy written down anywhere.
Yeah, right. The fact that we're just now getting it, sure.
Right.
I think they just, yeah.
So line by line
Anyway.
here. "She who will be born to darkness will give birth to darkness." So to me, that's directly applicable to Leia.
I think it has multiple meanings. I think it could be
Well,
Shmi too.
I think all of this can be directly applied to the current trilogy with Leia and Ben and all of that.
Yeah.
But then it also can apply. It also has applications to Anakin, which is why they thought Anakin was the one.
Yeah.
So she who will be born to darkness will give birth to darkness. Which I mean, that's Leia was born to darkness. Her father was Anakin.
Yeah. Dark Lord of the Sith.
She's given birth to Ben, who is now Kylo, who's the wannabe.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take that another way,
well, yeah, he's a wannabe, but he
has the darkness.
Right, he has the darkness.
He has the darkness because she was born from darkness. I mean, it's in their blood.
Yes.
But how could how could you misconstrue Shmi Skywalker for that though?
What do you mean?
I don't know. She who will be born to darkness will give birth to darkness.
Well, do we know anything about Shmi's past?
No, she's a slave. I guess that's
Pretty
darkness.
dark.
That's a darkness to be born to, I guess. For a double meaning of words.
It could be literal. Was she literally born in darkness? I mean, that's a thing about that's what I kind of like about
It's
some
so
of these. It could be taken literally.
yeah, it can.
Well, we'll get to it, but there's one that talks about the egg.
Um,
That
so-
could be literal or it could be metaphorical.
right. So someone gave birth to darkness. Leia, Shmi, whatever.
Mhm.
When the Kyber that is not Kyber shines forth, the time of prophecy will be at hand. I don't know what that means. So I've seen some people speculating like the Death Star was the Kyber that's not Kyber. That will be the time of the prophecy coming
Synthetic Kyber.
yeah. When the Kyber that's not Kyber shines forth, the time of prophecy will be at hand, which maybe was Luke. Luke, the time of prophecy, Luke ending and being
Yeah.
the balance now. That's the only thing I can think of is the Death Stars. That's Kyber. That's not Kyber. I can't think of any other instance in the saga that would apply to that.
I think you could force it on a couple other things. Maybe Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Is that synthetic Kyber?
Maybe. We don't know.
The time of prophecy. I mean, that's when the Force awakened.
Right.
I mean, it could be applied to several things. I think that's what I kind of like about this. Anyway,
So the next line: one will ascend to the highest of the Jedi, despite the foreboding of those who would serve him.
obviously, Anakin.
That's definitely. I don't think there's any other way to read that other than Anakin.
right.
That's only really applicable to him.
Right. Even Master Yoda thought it wasn't a good idea to.
Yeah,
For him to be
no one but Obi-Wan thought it was okay. Really.
And that was only out of deference to Qui-Gon.
Right.
Yeah.
Only through sacrifice of many Jedi will the Order cleanse the sin done to the nameless.
This is interesting because
So,
you could
Order
take it.
66 is easy to think about there.
Well, yes, but you could take it. I think the first way to take it would be kind of like the selfless sacrifice of the Jedi sacrificing their lives and everything to
Mhm.
serve the galaxy. You could take it that way, or you could take it the other way. Well, like the sin done to the nameless could mean
Yeah, that's a weird one.
the way the Jedi see it, which is restoring peace and justice to the galaxy. You know, the
The
sin
galaxy
done,
being the nameless.
the nameless, right, and the sin being just tragedies in life and injustice and things like that, right?
Right.
So I think the Jedi could come at that with their biased perspective, thinking, "Oh yeah, we're in the right here. We're cleansing the sin done to the nameless." But then
Right.
the other way I think you could take it is, no, the sin done to the nameless is the Jedi Order
Right. Yeah.
in being blind and oppressing people in a certain way.
Right. So only through sacrificing the Jedi has basically cleansed what they've done by
Right.
from their ivory tower.
Right. Their pride and blindness, yeah.
So it goes on, then the danger of the past is not past, but sleeps in an egg. When the egg cracks, it will threaten the entire galaxy. Or threaten the galaxy entire.
That one I really have no idea.
I mean, that
Because it's so
that
specific.
seems like specifically what's coming up in The Rise of Skywalker with Palpatine returning.
Sleeps in an egg.
Like he's been waiting. He's been waiting to be reborn. And when he is reborn, that will threaten the entire
The
galaxy.
danger of the past is not past.
Palpatine. I mean, I can't think of anything other than Palpatine being
Why
like he was.
egg?
He
That's
was
what's
always
confusing me.
always the danger from the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and now we're gonna find out in the sequel trilogy. Like he was always the danger from the very start. He's the one that supposedly
hold on,
caused
hold on,
Shmi
hold
to
on.
give birth to Anakin.
Hold on. Was Jar Jar born in an egg?
Like I assume their babies look like frog eggs, right? I assume it's like like little eggs, and then they turn into tadpoles.
Okay, ha ha ha. That was a funny joke. That's not real.
No, this is real. But yeah, I mean, it was always like I mean,
Egg is really specific.
I don't know if is it canon that, or has it ever been confirmed that Palpatine caused the birth of Skywalker of Luke or Anakin? I mean,
That Palpatine caused the birth of Anakin?
that's been the long running, I guess, rumor. It's never been there's nothing confirming it or denying it, but that he was born of the dark side. He was conjured into. I mean, he's a fatherless birth. He's an immaculate birth. He was born of the dark side. I mean, the assumption has been that Palpatine caused Anakin to exist.
But Anakin being found seemed like such. Well, I want to say happenstance, but I mean, it was the will of the Force, probably.
Right.
But I wouldn't say it was the will of the dark side of the Force that Anakin was found. I think it was the literal prophecy coming true.
But the Force is both sides.
But I think it was the literal prophecy coming true that the chosen one shall come. If Anakin,
I know, but I'm just saying the danger of the past is. I mean, obviously Palpatine was always the danger. He was the danger in the original trilogy. He became the main danger. He became
the danger. Could be a lot of things. I don't know. I'm just saying, regardless of what this says here, I don't know if I agree with Palpatine being the one.
The danger of the past?
No, I don't think I agree with Palpatine being the one who created Anakin. Yeah.
It could have just been caused by the Force.
Right.
Because of the prophecy.
If he's the chosen one truly, then the chosen one would be born
of the Force.
Right.
But then the danger of the past is not past. Like I can only think of that being Palpatine. And if we're looking at him returning,
that's what makes sense.
Using this analogy of an egg, him returning definitely sounds like when he's reborn, the shit's going down. I
don't know why egg. Why say egg?
Because
so
birth.
Specific.
I mean, it's specifically because of birth.
But why egg? Why say egg? Why not just say birth? You know, why specifically
he's gonna pop out of an alien egg from Alien?
Why use
like
that?
A chest hugger or a face hugger?
Why use that imagery? That's what I don't understand.
There's gonna be a giant egg, just like it's 5 times the size of an ostrich egg, and it's just gonna crack, and Palpatine's gonna be laying there naked, wrinkled, old Palpatine just popping out of an egg.
Hey, we've seen Palpatine naked once today.
Blue goo. All right, the next line is, when the Force itself sickens, past and future must split and combine.
This one's hard too, because I don't know what the Force sickening means. Like, when was the Force sickened?
Right.
It sickened
it seems like it was, I mean, we don't know, but the Force obviously, there was an awakening that Rey experienced.
Was the Force sickened when it became unbalanced and Anakin went to the dark side of the Force?
Possibly. Past and future must split and combine.
Or was the Force unbalanced then? I don't know.
Maybe. The past and future splitting and combining definitely sounds like the Force ghosts getting involved with like Luke and Yoda getting then involved with Rey, and some of the stuff that we've heard that's coming in The Rise of Skywalker with the actual Force and stuff happening inside the Force or through the Force. It almost sounds like that's what that like if that happens in the film, it seems like that's exactly what this is talking about, where the past and future, what's happening now and what's happening in the Force for the people, those from the past, are coming together basically to, I don't know, finally bring this prophecy to an end.
Yeah.
And then a chosen one shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored.
I think that's important to note, that it says through him, which kind of confirms that the chosen one is Anakin and not Rey. Because I was thinking about this too.
Yeah.
Like, the ultimate balance to the Force being restored could be the Force awakening and Rey. You could interpret it that way.
I mean, it says through him, but I mean, that could just be old space sexism.
I don't know. I think it's really referring to Anakin.
A chosen one shall come, born of no father. And through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored. Through him, because of the line of Skywalker. Right? So if it is Anakin, it's because, I mean, obviously this is the Skywalker saga. It's been dubbed the Skywalker saga. This movie is called The Rise of Skywalker.
So this is something I've always wondered. When Anakin turns and Obi-Wan is all, you were supposed to be the chosen one, It's like suddenly the Obi-Wan's faith in the prophecy had been shattered because Anakin turned.
Right.
But was Anakin turning rebalancing the Force? That's something I've always tried to figure out. Like, because the
Hmm.
prophecy here, the chosen one shall come. Okay, fine. Born of no father. Okay, fine. Makes sense so far. Through him, ultimate balance in the Force will be restored. In Obi-Wan's eyes, either the Force is not being restored to balance when Anakin turns, or Anakin's
Right.
not the chosen one. Because of the way he's always viewed that
I mean,
prophecy.
Palpatine is at power then, so I don't think the balance has been restored at all.
But I think we've
Because
talked about
darkness reigns at that point.
we've talked about this before, though. You still have Yoda alive, and you still have Obi-Wan Kenobi alive, and there are other Jedi
Yeah, a handful. Yeah,
alive, right? But before then, it had been
unbalanced to
to
just
the
a
Jedi,
massive amount of Jedi.
right? Maybe even practicing a religion that was against the will of the Force, potentially. I mean, who knows about
Yeah,
that?
but I mean, I think just the fact that it says through him, balance will be restored. I mean, I think that's directly through the Skywalker line will balance be restored.
Maybe.
Is what I think out of that, especially with this movie being called The Rise of Skywalker. And the shit people keep saying about like people just seem to be willfully ignorant about the fact that that Ben is a Skywalker.
What do you mean?
The amount of people that are just like
Putting it all on Rey?
deniers of Ben being a Skywalker is baffling to me.
I don't understand that.
People they refuse to accept that it's that the Skywalker has been.
What? Why? I don't understand that.
Exactly. That's exactly the feeling you should
People
have.
People are saying that Ben is not
Is not the Skywalker.
of Rise of Skywalker?
Right. Or that he's not just like I said, willfully ignorant that he is that the Skywalker that's always being referred to is him, or that he is the Skywalker that's going to be in the film.
What?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's how I feel when I see anyone that's still trying to like push the Skywalker onto Rey.
Okay, I don't understand.
No, yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't understand it because
Well, I mean,
makes
these people
it
are
makes no
idiots,
sense.
obviously, right?
Yes, obviously.
Okay. Do they know anything about what has happened?
No, obviously no.
Okay.
So that whole prophecy is nuts, and it's so applicable to so many things that have taken place.
Oh, so yeah, sorry, we kind of skipped over the second to last one. When the Force itself sickens, past and future must split and combine.
Yeah, we were just talking about the Force Ghost. I mean, all I can think of is the Force Ghost that could be if the stuff that's happening in the film with the Force actually happens.
Well, so what is the past and future must combine? Or must split and combine?
combine.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Split and combine. I don't
Split by Luke dying and combining by him now being in the Force and helping her through the Force, helping Rey through the Force.
the past and future must split. I don't
So
yeah,
the
I don't
past
know
and
what
future is you could take it as Luke dying. They're splitting. Rey and Luke now no longer have physical connection. They've split from each other. But then
I
they're
see what you
combining
mean.
through his power
I'm
being in the
thinking about it too
Force,
literally.
like his power being in the Force to guide her.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take it that way. That's the only thing I can think of
Hmm.
at this point. Is the past and future Rey and Luke splitting by him dying and then
The past
combining through the power through the Force.
well, yeah, I guess that would be the past. The way that Kylo refers to it, talking about the past must die. You have to let go of the past.
Right. Yeah. Let the past die.
Could it be Han and Leia?
Could be.
The past and future must split and combine.
Yeah.
They split.
Yeah. They combined by making Ben.
Well, they split up, and then
After that fact.
Han comes back.
Well, that's that's the next that's our next topic. So yeah, I really do want to read Master and Apprentice. I've heard it's really good. So one day there's so
We're
many
fast running out of time
my,
here, so
my books are stacking up for Star Wars. It's getting
my
rough.
books are stacking up.
All these books. So episode 9 rumors. The biggest one that's been happening that you've probably seen is that supposedly Harrison Ford is going to be in The Rise of Skywalker. And supposedly he actually shot new scenes for Rise of Skywalker.
Interesting.
Which is it's crazy. So the supposed
So crazy.
the supposed sequence that happens is that Kylo and Han, it's like an intervention of sorts where Kylo basically is talking to the burned Vader helmet again because he's an idiot. And he's asking him to, show me the darkness again, like he always has. But
show me the darkness.
yeah, as he's looking at his Evanescence poster, asking her to show him the darkness. Talking to the Vader helmet, asking him to show him the darkness. Apparently,
painting his fingernails.
Right, Luke appears, instead, and the person that was saying this, like paraphrasing it, is that Han basically shows up and tells Ben it's not too late, and that he's basically trying to reach out to Ben one more time, like he did right before he died. And it says he's not a Force ghost in like the classic sense, because he's obviously not a Jedi or anything, but that it's more like a vision or a dream that Luke is giving to Ben.
I guess I don't understand, if Luke shows up in this vision, where does Han come in?
He shows him, I don't know, his father again to try to, I guess, appeal to his light side. Like that's
Oh, so Luke is trying to manipulate?
Maybe.
That would be okay.
Or I mean, I wonder how that works. Obviously, it's the living Force, right? When you die, you get absorbed back into the Force. Obviously, they have the Force ghost stuff, but can Luke through the Force bring Han out of the Force to talk to Ben?
I think this is still canon, but the method of retaining one's self after you die that Qui-Gon taught Yoda. Retaining your consciousness and your yourself instead of it just being absorbed into the Force. That's something that has to be learned and practiced and all that. So it makes sense for Jedi, they're really the only ones who can do that because they're in tune with the living light side of the Force.
Exactly.
And they have had that training that a normal person wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So can they do that for other people is the question you're asking.
Right. Can
they retrieve a consciousness from the Force?
Can he use his Force
like
spoon
a database
to pull Han out of the alphabet soup of the Force? Like, you're trying to get specific letters out of alphabet soup to spell something, and you're having to dig around and find the right one. Like, he's doing that in the Force. He has his big Force ladle, and he's trying to scoop the Han pieces out. Okay, so it's not that he's trying
to find a specific letter. He's trying to find the letters HAN.
He's trying to spell Han. He's trying to find all of Han's Force pieces.
Right.
All the puzzle pieces that are mixed into the box of like 7 billion other puzzles.
I was thinking it's like if you had 2 glasses of milk and poured them into the same bowl.
And then trying to separate the milk back out.
Exactly.
The specific milk back from one to the other.
Can you get a spoon and scoop out the TG Lee milk versus the generic?
Han appears to Kylo, but he's really fucked up and like melty, and he's got like other people's like limbs and like his ears in the wrong spot.
He's a Frankenstein's monster, is what we're saying.
He's this weird Forcenstein of just this soup. He got most of Han, but there's a lot of other stuff that got scooped in there that's not Han, and so it's real messed up.
Trying to make Han, pull Han out of soup here.
Yeah, it's real bad, and it really just disturbs Kylo even more and drives him further into the darkness because his father's this messed up creature.
Oh my God.
Is this what happens when you die? Yeah, that's.
Son, you must return to the light side of the Force.
He has like a tentacle as one arm, and his other arm's like a hoof. He's got like an ear like up on his scalp.
Luke is like, sorry.
I got what I could.
This took a while.
His heart's there, but everything else, just close your eyes and imagine his voice. The meaning's behind it, but just from face value, it's real bad. Don't just close your eyes.
Ben, return to me, Ben. Your mother needs you.
It's just like his mouth opens wide and just a piercing screech comes out for too long.
Every other word I have. I have to do that. I can't help it.
Oh,
Okay.
that's what a mental image. And then the last thing, just a little piece, is that there have been a couple pieces here. First off, Knights of Ren are supposedly in this film. They've been, by sources have stated that
Makes
they did
sense.
shoot sequences in both Jordan, as well as at Pinewood Studios.
Makes sense.
So all that stuff that's happening on,
I expect.
in
I would
the
be
desert.
surprised if we didn't see them at this
Right,
point.
and all that stuff that suppose if they shot on at Jordan, all that stuff that's happening in the desert with Rey, and then obviously Poe and Finn and all that there.
Whatever
It would
planet
be
that
something
is. Maybe
happening there.
Tatooine, but
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah.
And the last thing, which is really weird to try to explain, because it sounds nuts.
It sounds stupid, to be frank.
It sounds, and that's what everything I was reading about this. I was like, it sounds really dumb, but supposedly
It's not somehow.
the way they've done it makes sense. So
They've done it. My God.
So during the celebration panel, people there was the talk of like, does Rey have any new Force powers, and there was like that, just
Ha 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 ha.
try not to talk about anything ever. But the rumors, of course, are they're both supposedly much stronger, and that they can even recreate that connection that Snoke made between them. But like the power behind that is so much more that before it was like these intimate moments where it's like they were both in their own locations kind of, and like seeing each other where they were. It's like when they're actually together and that power is there, it's like where they are even changes, supposedly. Like the background of where they are changes. So apparently when they're having this big dramatic lightsaber fight, that the power behind that and their force connection is like, it's almost like they're fighting through different locations that exist throughout the saga, familiar locations.
Are they actually warping there, or is
That
it
I don't
just-
know. Right, that's the thing I don't know, and that wasn't explained in anything I read. But supposedly that the background during their connection changes. So it's like during the lightsaber fight, the background flashes to different places we've seen throughout the saga, and that it's a very trippy effect, and that there's been multiple sources that have supposedly worked on the film that say it's very difficult to describe, but it's all in the execution, and that they feel it's been executed well. It sounds weird. It sounds real weird.
Yeah.
But apparently they have this big lightsaber fight, and
I
like
don't know about
where
that
they're
one.
fighting changes around them. Whether they're actually moving
Yeah.
through the force to different locations, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But I can understand. I mean, I can picture it. It still doesn't make sense, but I can picture it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a weird one to, I don't know, think about.
Well,
But we've got all that world.
are they actually there in the same location fighting, or are they fighting through the Force?
That'd be interesting. That I don't know. I think this lightsaber fight is supposed to be the one that takes place when they shoot in Jordan, whatever planet that desert planet is when they confront each other there, because that supposedly is Kylo's new TIE fighter, and that when she does the flip over it, she damages it, and he gets out of the flaming wreckage, and then they fight. Is the supposed
It's
rumor
really
to that sequence.
related to that. It's really been bothering me how people are like, no, they're training. Kylo turns and they're training together, just because she flips over and doesn't hit anything in that one little scene.
In that one
the
snippet
trailer.
before she's even directly over the cockpit.
Right.
She's still just in front of the cockpit in her flip before she even would have a good chance to strike anything.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a dumb idea.
I don't understand.
More stupid ideas.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that's really happened since our last episode is the Star Wars resort that's going to be happening at Disney World, the hotel that's basically the space cruise. Supposedly has been the rumored or name that's being tossed around is called Galactic Journeys, a Star Wars adventure. The name of the resort being called that, and that the fake the starship that you're on is Chandrila Starline. So basically, it's like a cruise line, and they have a whole logo that's being passed around for Chandrila Starlines.
I like the idea that it's set on one of the homeworlds for the New Republic,
Right?
because that was
Yeah.
Chandrila was was it the first place the New Republic
I think so. Yeah.
had the Senate and
That's
everything?
where, I mean, that's where Ben was born. Yeah, that's where the first, like,
Right,
the
right.
New Republic. That's where that all,
Yeah.
and all the books with Leia and stuff. That's where they were.
Right. And then it got switched to Hosnian.
Then they moved to Hosnian Prime, and then that was blown to shit.
Right. So if they just kept it there, would have been fine, right? Would the First Order have still shot at Hosnian Prime?
That's all they could reach.
If
that was
that Starkiller base was built.
That was as far as they could reach. That was just
Doesn't
the
matter.
closest 3.
The New Republic just happened to be there, so
It
was
really worked
bad.
out. Hux just kept yelling to shoot something, and I was like, "That's all we can hit. Just do it." Oh, hey, yeah, the Republic was there.
Oh, that worked out,
Sir. We purposely took out the entire Republic for you. Good job.
Oh, wow.
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 Well, I think that's more than enough of us
It's been a
for
lot.
now. I'm glad we had anything to talk about. Because
Hey.
there's not often that we have anything to talk about.
Let's be grateful. Let's all be grateful that you got another hour, over an hour.
Yeah. I'm not grateful for
This
it.
you, the listener, not
Oh, not me.
not us.
I'm not grateful. No, I'm glad we got that the actual Jedi prophecy. 'Cause I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see that, to have that context going into the Rise of Skywalker and trying to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys really enjoy this podcast, please go onto iTunes or whatever other place allows ratings and leave us one of a various amount of stars that you decide is appropriate. We prefer 5. You choose. If you want to talk to us, you can reach us on Twitter at hokey_religion. You can shoot us an email at asklobot@hokeyreligion.com. We've got stuff on Facebook, YouTube, anything that allows us to make a sound or a beep on. We're probably there. If you, for some reason, really enjoy
We're on
the podcast,
beep.com.
beep.com. It's just us saying beep. I mean, we have to register that now. If you really, really enjoy the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/hokeyreligion and support the podcast monetarily with any amounts of $1 or more. We greatly appreciate it.
Beep.com. Dear members, comma, dear visitors, comma. Thank you for your loyalty to beep.com or for your interest in beep.com. As announced, comma, this service has been terminated as of August 30th, 2018. Beep.com has been terminated.
They've terminated beeps.
They've terminated
The beeps have been
the
canceled.
beep.com service. Your beep.com team. Oh no.
How sad.
Service _terminated_English. Is there a French version? Nope, just English. Why, if there's only English?
Beeps are only in English, Michael. You must know.
That's true.
All right. I think that's enough of this episode.
Beep.com.
Do you have anything else about your beeps, Michael?
I'm just sad about the beeps leaving us.
The beeps have been canceled. We'll have to...
My loyalty to
we'll have to-
beep.com
we'll have
has
to-
not paid off.
We'll have to reboot beeps. All right. That's enough. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons. Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.